Welcome, Flyffers. So many people have been struggling to choose a class for Flyff Universe for the upcoming release, and that's why I will make an 8-video mini-series that takes a look at every class and what are their amazing features and what are their downsides. So you have a base to decide on for the release. Let's get right started. Welcome, Flyffers. So today we're going to take a look at the Psykeeper in Flyff Universe. And what comes first to our mind, he is the highest no-block PvE DPS class by far, with an average of 34k. Since he is using skills that can't be blocked in Flyff, he can always bypass and have a non-luck dependent DPS value, which is also later going to be really powerful in PvP. Now that we started talking about PvP, he also has the highest damage reflect with 175%. But this doesn't mean, of course, that the Psykeeper is reflecting 175% of his damage. It's only a portion about it. Usually it's about 10%. We don't know the correct numbers yet on Flyff Universe. And it also has the best ranged CC spell of all units. It's the Satan spell that is similar to the Sneaker, but can be improved by cast time, which makes it better than the Sneaker. And it's really good because we need it for different plays on the Psykeeper. You can even use it in dungeons to CC log mobs and stuff like that. It has a lot of different uses in PvE and PvP. And it's one of the few classes that have actually different types of AoEs that you can play. For example, you can play a tank AoE that is having like a Psychon set, maybe some kind of tank wand, for example, and you will gather all the mobs, then still at one place and use the maximum crisis skill to damage all the mobs around it. But you can also go more into like an elemental kind of playstyle with the Psychic Square AoE, which allows you to actually do hit and run if you want it. But you have to be careful because this skill doesn't do any CC on the mobs, like reducing their movement speed. So you as a Psykeeper need to have a lot of movement speed, of course, to actually get a decent hit and run going and make those gaps to the mobs. It is by far the least popular and least played classes ever in Flyff. I don't know why. I think the class is great, but overall it's not really played as much as other classes, and that's why usually the gear is the cheapest of all classes on most of the servers. Sometimes Jester is also in the spot, but based on the current patches and infos on Flyff Universe, I expect Psykeeper to be the cheapest gear of all classes. Now we're coming to the negative aspects. We already mentioned that the Elementer has instant damage, and the Psykeeper, while he has more single target DPS, he also has bomb travel time on his main source, the Spirit Bomb. This means you cast the spell and it will take a while to travel until the damage actually arrives at the enemy. The good thing is there's not a lot of speed on Flyff Universe, so you can't have more speed basically than the bombs and outrun them. That should be balanced, and as long as they're not adding like a whole bunch of power-ups, it is fine. It is a downside, but it is fine and can be adjusted by your playstyle. And the correct playstyle to play with the Psykeeper is the bomb stack, and this is, for a lot of players that are not really familiar with PvP, it's really hard to pull off. So for example, you're looking here at the red guy, that's of course our enemy, and we are the green guy, and the blue bubbles here are our boss spirit bombs that we casted. So we have this guy in target. We are staying on our tank gear, casting the spirit bombs, and then the clue is staying safe in your tank gear, and while the bombs connect, that's the only time you switch in your damage gear. And because the bomb damage is calculated on impact and not on cast. This means as soon as they travel, you will cast a CC spell so the enemy is standing still, and then you can switch into your damage gear and all your bombs will connect and kill the enemy. This is basically the playstyle, and it does require, of course, more skill than selecting something with a BP, pressing F1, ASOL, and it's dead, right? And yeah, a sad thing, because I think it was a bit popular when we played version 7 on uFlyff, was the Satan Psy. It's not viable anymore because the giants can't be CC'd and stuff like that. And you can't kill really higher mobs, because the playstyle, what it used to be was you were like level 65 and you would go to Claphons, cast Satan on them. You might not be in damage break, but you can still cast them, and due to the huge gap, they will not be able to damage you with their melee attacks. And yeah, that was a good way to level early on, at least having like some power spikes from about 65 to 80. And yeah, that's sadly not viable anymore due to some adjustments. So elementers can't hit and run, for example, the highest mobs. And one of the first cash shop problems that we mentioned now is the permanent need of refresher holds for the Psykeeper, which makes it even unbalanced compared to other classes that are not that dependent to cash shop items. But since your spirit bomb damage is based on your max amount of MP that is remaining, it is, if you want to deal the max damage, there's no other option than using refresher hold, for example. So the way spirit bomb works is, if you're having full MP bar, you do 100% of the damage. If your MP bar, for example, is only 90% full, you only deal 90% of the damage. That's why it is recommended to have ref holded only times. And this is a cash shop item. So if you want to play Psykeeper, you better have a big wallet. And now that we finished it up, as always, is Psykeeper your way to victory? Let me know in the comments.